Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's virtual info session on financial services. My name is Clara, and I'm glad that you joined us today. This session is designed to help you navigate the financial resources available to you as students, from budgeting tips to information about scholarships, bursaries, and financial aid support. We're very fortunate to have a special guest joining us today, which is Karen Warner, Manager of Scholarships and Bursaries. They bring valuable insight and expertise, and I'm sure you'll find the session both informative and helpful. Feel free to use the chat for any questions that come up during the presentation, and we'll do our best to address them during the Q&A portion at the end. Before we begin, we have a quick survey to help us get to know you a little bit better. I'll now pass it over to my colleague Rachel, who will be hosting the survey. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining us again. I'm just going to share my screen now. So you can join the survey today at menti.com. So check in at menti.com and then use the code 42545491. The code will be in the chat for you as well to copy and paste. So menti.com, MENTI.com, and use the code listed in the chat. 42545491. We're going to wait for a bit for everyone else joins us. Again, join at menti.com and use the code 42545491. Before we begin, we're going to do the survey to check in on the knowledge of the next subject. And just know that there are no right or wrong answers in this as well. So we're going to begin now. And if you join us later during the class of this Menti, you can always feel free to leave your answers in the chat as well. So where are you joining us from? Let us know in the Menti or in the chat if you're joining us from, you just joined us, let us know where you're joining us from. Okay, Toronto. Most people, local folks here. North Bay, Etobicoke, Milverton. All right. Thank you everyone for joining us. Wherever you're joining us from, we're just grateful that you're here and we hope you're going to get some insightful information from today's session. Our next question is, which of the following best describes you? Are you an incoming first-year student, or are you a transfer student? Or are you a parent, family, or guardian of an incoming first-year student? Let us know in the chat. And if you're just joining us, please feel free to leave your answers in the chat, and we'll also be responding to that as well. So if most people here are incoming first-year students, we also have transfer student options, or if you're a parent and family or guardian of a first-year student. Okay. Thank you for joining us. As most folks are incoming first-year students, we hope this event will be very informative to you in your first year at York University. So what's one word to describe how you're feeling about starting university? I'm going to assume most folks are going to start in September, but what's one word you're feeling about starting university this fall? Excited, okay. Unknown, scared. It's okay, that's all valid emotions. And also feel free to leave your response in the chat as well. So happy, okay. Eager, that's good. Whatever emotions you're feeling, just know those are valid concerns, and we're all here to help you out along in every step of the way. Planning. Okay, that's good. Okay, we're gonna move on to our next question now. What are you hoping to learn from today's session? Today's session is on financial services, financial aid, scholarships, tuition, all of everything about financial services at York. What's something you're hoping to learn from today's session? Scholarships, okay. OSAP, bursaries, scholarships, financial aid, support, okay. Engineering of Lausanne, budget, okay. Most of those topics will be covered on here today. For getting the job on campus in engineering and Lausanne, you can always feel free to join us for our All About York virtual session happening this Thursday as well to learn more about that. Today we're going to cover mostly about scholarships, budget, funding, bursaries, and tuition and all of the above. All right. So thank you for sharing, and we're glad that you're here. So the event is going to begin shortly. In the meantime, feel free to get comfy, say hi in the chat, well, introduce yourself in the chat. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and pass it on to Karen, who is going to be our presenter for today's session. Thank you for joining us, everyone.
Thank you and welcome everyone. Let me just get my presentation up. Okay, so my name is Karen Warner and I manage the scholarships and awards portfolio here at York University. So I'm part of the Division of Students in Student Financial Services. I'm going to cover a number of topics, many of which you've put on the slide deck. And of course, if you have any questions at any point, you can feel free to put those in the chat. The students will assist with answering some of those questions. And if there's anything that they can't answer, I'm happy to address it at the end of the session. So we're going to cover a number of things, as I said. First, I'm going to talk a bit about expected expenses, what's it going to cost to come to York, our scholarships, awards, and bursaries program, financial aid, OSAP in particular, our work study program, and your York student account, what that looks like, the timing around when payments are due, et cetera, and how you're going to make your payments. So the first is around estimated expenses. So the fees for fall winter 25 have now been approved and are available for you to view on our tuition fees website. For most students, our undergraduate domestic students, if you're an Ontario student and you're taking a full course load in a general arts or sciences program, you're going to pay just short of $7,400. For our domestic out of province, I see a typo on the slide. It's going to be around $8,000, and our international students is about $38,000. So this is again for our general liberal arts and sciences program. So if you're in a professional program, so you're doing engineering or computer science, our Bachelor of Design, our business programs, the tuition is going to be slightly higher. And you will see a breakdown of those fees on our site. At York, the tuition is all on a per credit basis, except for our Bachelor of Design program, which has a flat tuition rate. So it really depends on how many credits you enroll in, how much your tuition is going to be. So the tuition amount that you see here is based on if you were taking 100% course load, so 30 credits for the academic year. You do not need to take 100% course load. You're considered a full-time student with a minimum of 18 credits. But if you elect to take a full course load, of course, that is completely at your discretion. And in terms of your budgeting and planning, we also, suggest that you consider the other expenses that you're going to have. So textbooks and materials, you're looking at about $1,000 to $1,500, depending on the program of study that you're in. There's many ways to save money there in terms of purchasing your textbooks. Of course, our bookstore does contain all of the materials that you would need for your courses, but you can source books outside of campus, or you can purchase used books through our bookstore also as a cost-saving measure. And as well, many of the materials are available in our library if you want to just borrow the books to help cut some costs. Also, for all of our students coming in who are enrolled on a full-time basis, you are automatically enrolled in a health plan, which you are charged for. Now, for our domestic students, if you have alternate coverage through another plan, you can opt out of that health plan. And I'll talk a bit more about that later in the presentation. But if you don't have coverage outside of our OHIP, then it is a mandatory plan for you and you are charged for it. So it's about $315. It's the current cost of the plan. Covers you from a full calendar year, September 1st through to August 31st of next year. And the plan is administered by York Federation of Students. So if you visit their site, you can get full details on what the coverage is for that plan and also where and how to opt out of the plan if you don't need it. York is a large commuter campus, so parking and transportation is a big cost for students. Also, if you're not living within a walkable distance or living in our residence, so you're going to want to think about that when you're thinking about your budget for the year. Of course, your personal expenses, so your cell phone, clothing, entertainment, etc., and then your living costs. So if you are electing to live away from home, we have many opportunities and options available to you in our on-campus residences. As well as a lot of students live within just the outskirts of the campus. There's a lot of private homes that have rentals, as well as the Quad, which is not a York-owned residence, but it is located pretty much on York campus, and many students avail themselves of that. So many things to consider when you're looking at your overall costs for the year. So I'm going to move now into scholarships and what we have to offer. So if you are a domestic high school student, so domestic being a Canadian citizen, permanent resident, or a protected person, coming out of high school and you're entering York University with a minimum average of 80% or higher, you would have already been given a scholarship offer in your offer of admission. All of these scholarships are renewable and they are regainable, meaning if you fail to meet the renewal criteria in any given year, but in the next year you are able to bring the average up, the scholarship will automatically be reinstated. So you don't need to do anything for that. Just a reminder that the scholarship offers are based on your final admission average. So we will be reassessing all of the scholarships as your final marks come in, and you will be awarded based on whatever that final average is, and your scholarship value will always stay the same. So if you come in and you qualify for a $1,500 scholarship, you're always going to renew at that $1,500 value. In order to renew, you must maintain an A average at York, which is a 8.0 sessional GPA, and you must be enrolled in a minimum of 24 credits each year. So that is an 80% course load. For first year students, your renewal for your first year or your first year of renewal, which is your second year of study, will be based solely on your fall winter courses. After that, we do consider your summer courses also in the renewal. So for example, a student who's currently in the cycle, if we're assessing their renewal for this upcoming fall winter 25, we would be looking at their summer 2024 grades and their fall winter 24-25 grades when we're doing that renewal. Okay, so it's your previous summer, then your fall winter as part of is what we're considering for that renewal. Also, for our domestic students, we understand the value of students studying abroad and getting that international education experience. So, for any student who comes in and qualifies for the York Automatic Entrance Scholarship, if you elect to do a study abroad or exchange experience at any point in your undergraduate studies, you will also receive a $1,500 travel abroad award. So again, you don't need to do anything with that. We're going to coordinate with York International, who facilitates many of our study abroad experiences. They will let us know who the students are. We'll automatically assess that. And those funds are meant to directly help you offset the cost of studying abroad. So, the purchase for your plane ticket or your living costs going away, that will help you with some of that. For our international students, I saw we have a student here from Mauritius. If you are coming into York University from high school, we also have automatic scholarships for our international students this year, and they are renewable, which is this year is our first year that we're offering a renewable scholarship. So for students coming in with between that 80 to 84.9, you're going to get a package that's $25,000 in total, so $10,000 in your first year, and then $5,000 each year thereafter. And for students 85% or higher, it is $37,500 is the overall scholarship package. So $15,000 in your first year and renewed at a value of $7,500. The renewal criteria is similar. You have to maintain a 7.5 sessional GPA and a minimum of 24 credits. And again, the scholarship is also regainable. So if in any particular year you're not able to maintain the average, but you bring your average up, we will again automatically assess you for renewal. So the renewals always take place over the course of the summer. You know, we finish our winter term in April. You'll write your exams. The final grades will come in May. We will automatically assess the renewal, so you do not need to reach out to us. We will let you know the status of your renewal once the grades are in and we've had an opportunity to review them. The scholarship funds themselves will be applied to your student account in August. Okay, so tuition is due in September. You'll get an invoice in August towards the end of the month, and we will have applied your scholarship funds to your account in advance of that invoice so that when you get that bill, it will include the scholarship money already. And show you what your remaining balance is. So the scholarship funds will go towards anything that's on the account. So if you have your tuition, if you're living in residence, your meal plan, your health plan, whatever's on the account, the scholarship funds will first go towards covering off those charges. So for the funds to be released to you, you of course have to be enrolled for the fall winter, and you have to have paid your required deposit. And then if you have any outstanding admission conditions, those conditions must be satisfied before any scholarship funds will be released to the student. Okay. If by chance the scholarship funds that you receive exceed the amount that you're owing, you will be able to request a refund of any surplus funds, but we don't release any scholarship funds until November, at which point if you drop a course, there's no refund on the course. That's what we're waiting for. So if you visit our refunds page, we do encourage all students to provide us with your banking information. So if you go in there, you can set up your banking details there. Our preferred method for any refunds that we're issuing to a student is through direct deposit. And so we ask you to provide us with the banking information so that if you end up with a surplus, we can request a refund and directly deposit that to your bank account. You'll also have the ability to request the refund yourself on the refunds page. And we know that many of our students, more than half of the students at York University, are receiving aid through OSAP. And so we do report any funds that we give you to OSAP ourselves. So when you are completing your OSAP application, you will see a question that asks you to report your scholarships. That would be for your external awards only. Okay. If you have any kind of scholarship or funding that you have applied for outside of the university, that you should report on your OSAP application. Anything that is given to you through York University, we will report to the ministry on your behalf. This is really important that you remember this. This is for every year of your studies. York will always report the money that we give you to the ministry. We don't want you to report it, and then we also report it, and then it looks like you receive more than you actually did. So you do not need to worry about reporting any York University funding. And of course, if you are a student who receives a scholarship from us, and then for some whatever reason you end up withdrawing from your studies, we do reserve the right to reverse any scholarship funds that we give you if you drop any of your courses or withdraw from the school in its entirety. Okay. So there are many opportunities for you to receive funding outside of the entrance scholarships. So we do have an in-course funding opportunities available to our students. Every year you can apply for scholarships, awards, and bursaries through our financial aid awards and scholarships application. So it's our FAST application. The application is going to open August 1st for the fall cycle. So what you're going to do as a new student is you're going to need to go into FAST. You can go to the landing page. You're going to log in with your Passport York credentials, and you must create a student profile. So we'll ask you a series of questions through the profile, all of which are designed to match you to funding opportunities. And you will also, you will see a finance tab, and in the finance tab, you will need to create a needs assessment. This is for any awards that have a financial need criteria. Now, the first question that's going to come up in the finance tab is, do you wish to be considered for any award that has financial need as a criteria? You can elect to say yes or no. If you say no, you don't have to answer anything else in that tab. If you say yes, then there will be a series of questions that ask you to provide us with information about your financial resources. Now, those sources are specific to the academic year that you're applying for, okay? So for example, if you have an RESP, a Registered Education Savings Plan, and that's valued at $20,000. When you're filling out the needs assessment, we only want you to report the amount that you're planning to take out for the current study period in that needs assessment. Okay, we just want to know what you have available to you for this academic year. Because every year that you apply for funding or apply for scholarships and awards, you're going to need to do a new needs assessment for that particular cycle. Okay, the student profile you only need to do once. But we do encourage you each year to go into the student profile, review what you've put in there, and update it if necessary. So if once you get to York, you're highly engaged, you're involved in volunteering in your faculty or in a club, etc., you will want to go back into the student profile and update that information so that we have the most up-to-date and relevant information when we're doing our assessments. So you can open the application, revise whatever you need to in that application, do the new needs assessment for each of the years, and resubmit the application. We have many awards that don't require you to do anything other than fill out the student profile. The information in the student profile is sufficient for us to make a decision on making a selection for that particular award. And there's literally hundreds of awards that we do just based on the student profile. So we do encourage you to go in and do that profile by October 15th. Which is the date that we will use for our general awards. Within the profile itself, when you log into your portal, you will see a number of sections or buttons. One will be titled Undergraduate Funding Opportunities, and another one will be titled Draft Applications. So these are opportunities that require you to do something addition to filling out the profile, additional. That could be providing us with letters of recommendation. It could be writing a statement that speaks to how you satisfy the award criteria. So there are other opportunities outside of the general ones that you should keep an eye on. And these opportunities will present themselves throughout the academic year. So again, we encourage you to log in periodically. And again, check under those two tabs, undergraduate funding opportunities. These are for awards that are very broad, open to students in any faculty or program, but again, require some additional information. The ones that appear in your draft applications, those are ones that are more specific to you. So it may be, for example, for a student in a particular faculty or program who's been admitted with a particular admission average. So the system is going to pre-filter or pre-assess, like do some criteria matching to determine if you meet the criteria up front, and then it will create that draft application for you, which you then need to go in and complete the additional outstanding items. So again, that letter of reference or a statement that gives us more information than what was provided in the portal itself, in the initial profile. So you want to do this every year. We do send out reminders. We'll send out an email, a blast email in August when the application goes live, and you'll see that throughout the year. And you can continue to monitor the status of your applications through the portal. The other main source outside of our own scholarships and awards program of funding for students is the Ontario Student Assistance Program, or OSAP, which is our aid program in the province of Ontario. It is made up of a combination of federal and provincial funding, and it is comprised of both grants and loans. So any student who applies for OSAP will be considered for all of that. To be eligible for OSAP, you must be a Canadian citizen, permanent resident, or protected person. You must be a resident of Ontario. So if you are joining us from another province, there are aid programs in all of the provinces and territories. So you would apply directly through your home province for aid to attend studies at York University. You must be a full-time student, and you must demonstrate financial need. So you would go to do the application, you would need to go to the OSAP site. and create an account. As a first-time applicant, you will have to go through a bit of a training module that just speaks to you about your rights and responsibilities under the OSAP program. And for students coming directly out of high school, you will require parental information. Okay, the government considers you a dependent, and your parents' income will be a factor in the OSAP application. So when you're going through the application, and hopefully you've already done it, but if you haven't, there's still plenty of time to do so. But it is a lengthy process. An OSAP application standardly takes about 6 to 8 weeks to process. So this is a really good time, if you haven't done so already, to go into the portal and start your application so that we can ensure that your application is assessed and your funds are ready for the start of the study period. It will be asking for parental income based on what they reported on their 2024 income tax returns, so you should have that handy when you start the application. Again, the full application is done online. Once you've completed the application and you submit it, there's two things that is going to happen. One is you're going to see a preliminary estimate of what your funding may be. And the second is it will provide a list of any supporting documents that you may be required to provide. So every applicant must provide this Master Student Financial Assistance Agreement, which is basically your agreement that you are going to be responsible for the repayment of any loans that you take. And there will be signature and declarations forms which need to be signed by both yourself and your parents, which basically gives the ministry authorization to verify any of the information that you've provided on the application. And then depending on what you've put on the application, it may ask for additional information. So for example, if you've indicated that you are a permanent resident in Canada, it will require you to provide copies of the front and back of your PR card, etc. Once you've submitted all those documents, you just monitor your application on the OSAP website. Once your file is complete, you will receive typically an email letting you know that something has changed and directing you to log back into the portal. And at that time, you will receive a notice of assessment. And that notice of assessment will give you a full breakdown of the funding that you've been assessed for, how much of it is loan, how much of it is grant, how much of it is given to you by the provincial government, and how much is federal. Once all that is done, there's really nothing for you to do. It's all up to the institution. So about 10 days before school starts in the fall, we will do a confirmation of enrollment, which means if I have submitted an application and I said, I, Karen Warner, I'm going to be in the Faculty of Liberal Arts and Professional Studies, taking a degree in sociology, and I'm going to take an 80% course load. This is information you would have provided on your OSAP application. The institution is at that point going to confirm whether that information is accurate. Okay, so we are going to confirm that you're here taking the program you said, enrolled in the course load that you indicated you were taking. If you are not, in the correct course load or in a different program, we will make the adjustment on the back end so that your file is up to date, and that may trigger a reassessment of your funding. So you may see something around that. Once we have confirmed the enrollment, that will trigger the release of the funding. And the funds will be dispersed to you in 2 installments. So you get a portion of your funding in the fall and the remainder in the winter. So if you take the loans, you're going to get 60% of the loan amount in the fall, 40% in the winter. And if you're getting any grants, they're going to release those 50-50. So right there, that should be a red flag for you to let you know that you're going to receive more money in the fall than you're going to in the winter. So you need to be very careful about how you're managing that money. When we let the ministry know that you're a student, we also at that time let them know what you owe. So they will automatically send funds to the university to pay your tuition. Okay, so once you're not going to receive the money and then be required to pay York University. We will receive the money directly from the ministry first. If the amount that is being released in your first installment exceeds what you owe, then that difference is what will be deposited to your bank account. So when you are applying for OSAP, the ministry is not only assessing you for your tuition and your books, it's also assessing every student for a living allowance. It is assessing you for the cost of transportation to come to York and back home. If you are a first-year student, it is assessing you for a small computer allowance. If you are a student who has dependent children yourself, it may be assessing you for childcare costs. So all of these are part of the assessment. So it is not unusual for your OSAP amount to be higher than what your tuition amount is, because it is assessing you for other costs. Your full education and living costs are factored in. So again, the tuition amount will come to us directly. The balance will be deposited to your bank account. So when you're filling out the OSAP application, you will see a section where you are asked to provide your banking information, and the funds will be deposited there for you to use them as you need. So two things I want to make you aware of is that students do have the option to just take the grant portion of the funding. So the grant portion is the non-repayable portion of the funding. So you do, if you want to try to manage without taking the loans, you can elect just to take the grant portion. If you do take both the loans and the grants, the loans are non-repayable while you're in school full-time, and the government is offsetting any interest that accumulates on those loans while you're in school full-time. So you're not accumulating any interest on the loan, and you're not making any payments on those loans while you're in school full-time, okay? Also, if you do have an RESP, that Registered Education Savings Plan, you're not going to need to report that on the OSAP application, or if you're an Indigenous learner and receiving any funding from your band, those are exempt resources, so you do not need to report them on your OSAP application. It will ask you some information about employment income. Any income below $5,600 per term is exempt, so it's not going to impact your OSAP entitlement. Okay. Lastly, I just want to touch on academic progress. So the ministry does expect students who are receiving OSAP to be progressing through their years of study. So if you, that means passing a minimum 60% course load each year. So they are monitoring that. If you fail to do that, it could put you on an academic progress restriction, where you'll need to provide an explanation for why you did not manage to pass a full-time course load. And in terms of the grants, if you take a grant and then you withdraw from your studies altogether, the ministry will convert those grants into loan funding. Okay, so this is obviously to prevent students from defrauding the system and taking the money and going with it. So if you do take the grant and have to withdraw from your studies, just be aware that the government will convert that funding into loan, and you will have to repay it. I mentioned this earlier. So again, if you are receiving any scholarships or awards from York University and you're an OSAP recipient, you do not need to report that on the application, just any external funding that you may be receiving. And then there are a number of additional aid programs. So there is OSAP, or government aid funding, for part-time students. Again, if you're an out-of-province student, if you visit our site, we can give you the links to all of the out-of-province websites for their aid programs. We have bursary for students with disabilities. So if you are a student with a disability who requires any type of supports to help you be successful academically, so if you require tutoring, if you require any kind of special software or computer equipment to be able to do your studies, we have the bursary for students with disabilities. It is a government program, so it is heavily tied to OSAP. You do need to demonstrate need through OSAP. Typically, you would register with one of our accessibility services areas at York. You'll be matched with a counselor. You and the counselor will discuss what your needs are, and they will assist you in applying for the BSWD in terms of defining what your needs are. And then that application will go through to the ministry, and you can apply for this bursary every year. It's up to $10,000 a year. And again, it's specifically for supports that are needed as a result of your disability. You must spend it for the purpose that it is intended for. So you will be required to provide receipts to show that the money was spent the way it was intended, and or you will be required to repay any unused portion of that funding. Okay. So the links are all there for you to check out. Just visit Student Financial Services site, and you'll get access to all of this information. Work study program. So we've talked to many of our students over the years, and we know that many students are working part-time to supplement the money that they have coming in from OSAP or from their awards to help them meet their educational costs. So there's many opportunities for students to work on campus through our work study program. We have 3 unique program types under the work study umbrella. One is general work study. So this is largely administrative work, so you'll work in a department or faculty or with our athletics department, supporting the full-time staff in whatever is needed in an administrative capacity. Then we have our LEAP program, Leadership Engagement and Ambassadorship Program. So this is many of our student leaders. Some of the event staff that you see at our events like today's session would be through our LEAP program, and they support students and lead student initiatives. And then we have our research at York. So if you're a student who's interested in working with a faculty member or other undergraduate and graduate students on a research project, we have those opportunities also available to you through Ray. These are all paid part-time employment programs. They are open to all undergraduate students, so both domestic and international students can participate. For our undergraduate domestic students, you can be either full-time or part-time, and what that means is defined on our work study site. And for our international students, you must be enrolled as a full-time student to be able to participate in work study, and you must hold a valid study permit with conditions that allow you to work in Canada. I'm sorry, I'm losing my breath today. All of it, again, is paid employment, so anywhere from minimum wage up to $20, $25 an hour for these positions. For the fall winter, the work study program is capped at a maximum of 15 hours a week. And we also offer summer employment through the work study program. And for summer, it could be full-time employment for the summer. So we do have 2 periods of time in which you can engage in the work study program. The program itself has 2 stages or steps in terms of applying for eligibility and looking for jobs. So one is you must complete the work study application itself. Again, that is just assessing whether you meet the course load thresholds to be considered full-time or part-time. For our international applicants, as I mentioned, you will be required to submit a copy of your study permit for review so we can assess whether you are eligible to work in Canada as a condition of being eligible to participate in the program. And then the jobs themselves you apply to the same way you apply for any part-time job. If you go to York's career site, you can filter the jobs by work study and LEAP and see all of the opportunities that are available for the fall winter. Those jobs, I believe, are already up for fall winter. And the application is the application may not quite be up yet. I believe it's June or July. If you visit the site, you'll get details about what the timeframes are. But you'll see all of the jobs listed there. You're going to create a profile on the career site, upload your resume and your cover letter, apply directly to the job. The department will assess those applicants, reach out and do interviews, and they will hire and check to make sure that you're eligible. For our Ray positions, you're going to actually visit the Career Center job posting site, and all of the Ray positions will be listed there with details about what the research project is, what you're going to be expected to do, what the learning outcomes will be, etc. So we really encourage students to participate in the program. It's a great opportunity to earn money. We love to work with our students, and it's very beneficial for you as students also. It helps, again, to help shape a sense of community for you by working at the campus. And you're already here so much, so you might as well participate and earn some money while you're on campus also. I'm going to shift now to your student account and what that looks like at York University. So York is similar to many companies in that we do not generate invoices any longer, paper invoices. You're not going to receive a bill through the mail. You're going to be notified each month that your statement is now available to view, and you're going to log in through your Passport York to be able to view that account. So on that student account, you're going to see all of your financial transactions. So your tuition, any scholarships and awards that you received, your residence charges, your meal plan, your health plan, all of those, any payments that you make, it's all going to be reflected on your student account. You'll have 2 views of the student account. One is a full transactions view, so you can see everything that's happened on your student account in and out of the account. And the other is your monthly statement, which will reflect everything that has happened since your last statement billing date, same as you would for your cell phone bill or Rogers or anything like that. Typically, the statements are released around the 18th of every month, and our due date is always the 10th of the month. Okay, so you will, for your first payment due date for the fall will be September 10th. All payments must be made through your financial institution. So we do not accept payments at the university in any way, shape, or form. For international students, if you're making payments from outside of the country, we have our CIBC International Student Pay or Convera Global Pay as the means for you to make those payments. For domestic students, it would be through your bank. And York University would be the payee or the company that you're making the payment to. And your 9-digit York reference number or student number is your unique account number for any payments that you're making to the institution. So in terms of payment schedule, right now, the only thing that is required is any deposits that you need to make. So $2,000 for our international students, $300 for our domestic students, all of which will go towards your account and reducing your tuition amount. If you're looking to go into residence, you would have paid a residence deposit. So those things all need to be paid now. And then, as I mentioned, the first actual due date is September 10th. So if you are taking any full year courses, those are 8-month courses that run from September to April, you're going to pay 50% of that in September. Any fall courses, so they start in September and end in December, you're going to pay in full. And your residence and meal plan, you're going to pay 50% for September. Then our next major due date is January 10th. That is the remainder of your full year courses, remainder of your meal plan and residence, and any winter term courses that you have. So courses that start in January and end in April. So for most students, it's about a 50-50. It really depends on how you take your courses. If you have a heavier course load in one semester than another, then you're going to pay more in that semester. But if you're taking for example, all full year courses, it's literally going to be 50-50 in terms of how you're making those payments. The health plan charges are typically applied to your account in August, so it would be due by that September 10th date. It depends on when they post them, that it'll be due, but it'll be the 10th of whatever month follows the date that they charged it to your student account. I mentioned at the top of the presentation about the health and dental plan. So again, it is mandatory for undergraduate students unless you have coverage under an alternate plan. It is for sure mandatory for our international students. There is no option to opt out for our international students. You pay both the YFS health and dental plan for international students, and you also pay UHIP. So the UHIP, the University Health Insurance Plan for international students. So your total is going to be just over $1,000 for international students. You can visit the two site pages, the UHIP page and YFS Health Plan, for information about what is covered under the two plans and the opt-out details for the SFS. The YFS Health Plan is on the YFS Health Plan page. Typically, you can opt out up until early October. To opt out, you must provide proof of coverage through an alternate plan. So it'll ask you the company that you're covered under and the policy number. So if, for example, your parents have a health plan and you're covered under their health plan, you can opt out of that. The Registered Education Savings Plan, we quite often get questions about this. So students who have savings for their education, you can actually download. Many of these companies will require you to provide proof that you are enrolled in post-secondary studies for them to release the funds to you. So if you have already enrolled and paid your deposit, you should be able to now or very shortly be able to go online and download the form yourself. So we do have an agreement with many of these companies. You go in through your Secure Passport York page, log in, you go to undergraduate and select the type of letter that you want. It will provide a customized letter that will include your name, your program of study, your year level, etc., all of the details that they need. And you will provide that to the company, and that will trigger the release of your RESP funds. So you also have to, again, be enrolled in courses and have paid your registration deposit for you to be able to access that letter. So the last thing is just in terms of where you go if you need help, if you need any support. So student support and advising is the primary York contact for all financial related inquiries. So anything related to your student account, anything related to your OSAP, you're going to contact York. York processes all of our own OSAP applications for our students. So any inquiries about OSAP would come to York directly, and student support and advising can assist you with that. And there's a lot of ways that you can get a hold of them. We have a call center, 872 York. They offer appointments both in person and via Zoom. They have a frontline in-person service that you can come in and see somebody also, and that you can also email them at rscheck@yorku. If you're emailing them, we ask you to include, of course, your name and your York student number. So if they need to look at your record, they can actually provide you with an appropriate response in doing so. And for scholarships and awards and bursaries, we also have a direct email address, bursary@yorku.ca, which you can contact at us, anybody from my team, and we're happy to answer any inquiries that you have there. So I know we've covered a lot of information today. I'm going to just stop sharing my screen. Let me just see here. Oh, 1 second here. Oh, sorry, I can't seem to get off of my stop share, but if you have any questions that I haven't covered in the presentation, if you want to go ahead and share those. I know the team has been busy answering those questions, so if you want to, if there's anything that hasn't been addressed or any questions the team couldn't answer, I'm happy to do so for you. If you want to put your hand up or come off mute and go ahead and ask the question, that's fine. So will it be posted anywhere? I don't have any plans to post it, but if you want to email us at bursary@yorku.ca, if you want a copy of the slide deck, I can put it into a PDF version and we can share that with you. So just email bursary@yorku.ca and ask them for a copy of the slide deck. I'm doing a great job. I'm just going through, I see all the links and all the information that they've been providing you. So for PICE students, when would we make the payment and would it reflect on our account? So for this is for our President's International Scholarship of Excellence, similar to any of our automatically awarded scholarships or any of our application-based scholarships, will be posted on the student accounts in early August. Okay, so when you get your August invoice, you will see the scholarship reflected there. And again, it will go towards any charges that are on the account. For out-of-province students for the health insurance, I believe it is mandatory for all, but again, if you have a private plan, you can opt out of it if you provide proof of that coverage through the private plan. Any other questions?
We had a question a little earlier from one of the students here. They asked, can I apply for campus jobs while also applying for OSAP?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, yes. Well, they're not you're not prohibited from doing any type of employment. So you can get OSAP and still participate in work study or any other part-time employment opportunities.
Could I ask a question, please?
Of course.
For international students who have a study permit, how would I know whether my study permit entitles me to work? I've got my visa, but I'm not sure how to read that. Does it say work permit on that, or is there a separate letter that comes in?
No, typically right on the study permit itself at the bottom, there should be a list of conditions. And
Okay.
if the employment is permitted, it would be listed under the conditions on the study permit itself.
Okay, so it should say employment permitted on that
Yeah.
visa. Okay,
Yes,
thank you so much.
you're
And
welcome.
thank you for all your help and for always being so responsible. Most touched with how much York has done for us and for our family. Thank
Oh,
you so
that's
much.
wonderful. I'm glad that you've had a great experience, and we hope to continue to provide that experience to your students.
So we have two questions in the chat. One is, what is the contact for the academic advisors, and can they help me determine if I need upgrading or if I could be accepted with college and my high school grades or transcripts?
Well, if you're coming in from admission and you have previous college, that would have been assessed as part of your application, right? When you submitted your transcripts, they would have automatically assessed you for any transfer credit at the point of admission. So you should have been notified about that. Each of the faculties have their own advising areas. So I would recommend if you have any questions about it and you think that there are credits that you should have been allowed to receive as transfer credits, I would suggest you reach out to your home faculty, whatever faculty you're going to, and they can assist you with that.
Perfect. We also have a student asking, how does clubs or campus involvement affect your student profile?
Many of the awards that we have available to students do require students to be engaged. Many donor-funded awards in particular are looking for students who are highly engaged in their community, who have demonstrated leadership, etc. So when you are filling out the FAS application, there will be an engagement section in the application where you can list any of the work that you have done internal to York or outside of the university. So we ask you to, it is important. It is considered quite frequently in many of our awards, and will certainly put you in a better position to receive a scholarship or an award if you can demonstrate that engagement. So I would take the time to go through the FAS application, fill it out in its entirety. And again, I would every year revisit your profile, take a look at it and amend it as needed. So if you have additional work that you've done that wasn't included in any particular year, you should always update that because we are relying heavily on that information when we're making our decisions.
Amazing. One more question from a student. They're asking if a student takes OSAP and then wants to transfer to another university, what would the procedure be and what would the consequences be?
That's perfectly fine. I mean, you can apply for OSAP at any institution. You always are going to, when you fill out your application, indicate the school that you're attending and the program that you're taking there. So if you come to York in first year and then, you elect to go to another institution in the second year, would just apply for OSAP again and indicate the new institution. It won't have any impact on your eligibility for OSAP. If you're eligible, you will continue to be eligible. I think the lifespan for OSAP is something like 10 years in terms of how many weeks of eligibility you can have. So, that will follow you through if you do an undergrad and then go into graduate studies, you would still potentially be eligible to get OSAP. Again, you just need to make sure that you're continue to be academically eligible. That may impede you, like if you've not done well at York and then you go to another institution. Again, you would maybe put on academic probation. You may be required to provide an explanation for what happened at York to be able to continue to receive funding.
Okay, we just got one new question. So there's a student asking, how about dropping out? So,
So
so
I'm assuming, did you receive OSAP then for the term that you drew from?
they're asking, I dropped out of the summer term and I restarted back in the fall winter. So would that affect their financial profile in any way?
It may, because anytime you take OSAP and then you withdraw, would create like they reassess you from the day that you dropped out, or even from the day that you dropped to part-time. So this is actually a very good question, because remember, OSAP is a full-time. You have to be a full-time student. So even as you're in school, even if you don't withdraw altogether, if you drop courses and it drops you to part-time status, that will impact your OSAP. From the day you became a part-time student, you're no longer OSAP eligible, and your OSAP will be reassessed. And when I say reassessed, like if we've already released all of the funding to you and then you drop to part-time, what it will do is it could result in an overpayment, meaning you got more money than you would have gotten or that you're entitled to at this point. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be ineligible for further funding. I think there's some thresholds around which you have to, have exceeded that. But it would just be a mark on your record, and you just have to be careful going forward. You'd have to speak to one of our staff in student support and advising. They're know more about the details of continued OSAP eligibility. But yeah, it does have a factor. Now for summer, it may reduce what you're going to get for fall winter if you have received funding for summer and then you withdrew from the study period.
Okay, thank you so much. We have a student from out of province asking about OSAP. So they're saying their current understanding is that OSAP is for Ontario students. So as an out of province student currently taking loans from Nova Scotia, is there a way to later become eligible for OSAP?
To be considered, you have to be considered an Ontario resident to be eligible for OSAP. And to be considered a resident, you have to have resided in the province of Ontario for 12 months, 12 consecutive months, and you cannot have studied full time in that 12-month period. So unless you take a break in your studies at some point, and then come back to school, you will always be considered a Nova Scotia resident. Okay, so if you're here, you're starting your first year, and presumably you're not going to be taking a break, you're going to be doing your full 4 years of consecutive study, you are always going to be applying for your aid through Nova Scotia. You will not be considered an Ontario resident at any point.
All right, so in terms of resources available on campus, what sort of apps or tools can help, a student manage their finances?
Yeah, I'm not, you know what? We had some information on the Student Financial Services page that had to do with some budgeting tools that were from the ministry. Again, your primary resource is really people. It's really speaking to the staff at Student Support and Advising about your situation. We hold sessions occasionally. We've gotten away from it because unfortunately they're not well attended, and so we haven't been doing a lot. But many of the faculties and departments reach out to us to ask us to facilitate sessions like this. So there may be another opportunity. But I would suggest you just contact Student Support and Advising if you have questions specifically about your own OSAP application. They're your best resource.
Okay. Okay, so one last, building off of the question you just answered previously about out of province loans, the student is asking, what if their family or their parents moved to Ontario during that time as well? So no one's actually living in Nova Scotia. So what happens then?
Yeah, when you're filling out the OSAP application, you will see some questions that help you to define. And I believe there is a question that speaks to if your parents have been in the province. So you could theoretically qualify for OSAP under your parents' residency. But they also, I mean, if they moved here at the same time as you, they would have to do the 12 months of consecutive residency in Ontario first before you could qualify for OSAP under their residency. So again, it depends on when they came to the province and how long they've been here. But you will see it on the application. If you go to the OSAP website under their forms, there's typically a hard copy version of the application. So without having to actually go into the application and navigate to that question, you could just pull up the hard copy version and see the language around that in the hard copy. So you have a sense of what I'm speaking about.
Okay, perfect. Just one last question for everyone. It's if I drop a course, will I get my money back?
It depends on what point you drop a course. Dropping courses is very tricky. There's two schedules that you need to be mindful of. One is there's a drop deadline, an academic drop schedule, and there's a refund table. The dates do not align. Okay, so you can drop a course well into the school year, but you're not going to get money back on it. You basically start losing money on a course drop from the first or second week of the academic year. So if you go again, I would go to the refund, look up refund table on the York page. It will show you each week how much you lose on a course drop. I believe it's like early October or sometime in October. There's a final date. And at that point, if you drop a course, you are paying for the course. There's no refund on the course. I mean, be mindful, you've now held a space in that course for close to 2 months. If other students were trying to get into that course and the course was full, you've had a space in the course. So you are going to be responsible for the cost of the course after a certain point. Even though you could drop the course probably, right up until the end of the semester, you're not going to get any money back after a certain point. So drops are very tricky things, and I would suggest, particularly if you're an OSAP student, you always think about the impact of that drop on your finances, on your OSAP entitlement. You can check with, student advising, but preferably with student support and advising about the potential impact of any drops that you're considering.
Perfect. Thank you so much for answering those questions.
All right, thank you so much, Karen, for the wonderful presentation that we just heard right now. What you really spoke about really like impacted like the lives of first year students, because most people always have questions about financial aid and paying tuition. And that's like a very tricky path to consider when coming to university. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to email us at newstudent@yorkie.ca. I'll be able to pass on the information as well as the information for the student advising support will also be put in the chat as well. Before we wrap up, we're a bit over time, but before we wrap up, we're gonna do a survey Menti again. We're gonna be using the same Menti link as well, and I'm going to share my screen now. And also, please feel free to join the Menti. The code we put in the chat. I'll say the code out loud as well. And you can also put your answers in the chat as well. Right. The code will be the same as before, which is 42545491. Okay, just waiting for folks to join. Before we get started, and again, feel free to leave your answers in the chat as well if you're unable to join the Menti. So we're gonna get started now. Again, the code is 42545491. So we'd love to hear your feedback on this event. And how satisfied are you with today's session? Are you feeling very satisfied? Are you feeling neutral, like you still have more questions to ask, or you're feeling very unsatisfied? Let us know. You can also put your answers in the chat as well. Okay, we see more folks being satisfied with the session today. Thank you for joining us. We hope like you're able to get so much of your questions answered through today's session. And if you're still iffy about it, we're gonna also host another financial services info session later in July. So again, feel free to drop by on those sessions. All right, moving on to the next question. Is there anything you still have questions about? Any topic in particular about when it comes to transitioning to first year at York? Just any topic regarding today or any topic regarding your transition at York University? Always answer, thank you. Thank you for coming for our session today. If there are any more questions to be asked, we're hosting a virtual All About York this Thursday as well. So feel free to join. You're going to have students also coming on the session to lead and talk about their experience at York University. So a lot of questions will be answered there as well. Okay. What other topics would you like us to cover in future sessions? Beyond the topic of financial services or just general topics, what other topics would you like us to cover in future sessions? Again, feel free to leave your answers in the chat. Housing and academic, sure. Any other topics? We will be hosting different virtual info sessions throughout the entire summer, as well as campus tours, as well as all about York sessions. So feel free to always drop by those ones. You can check our YU Connect page on our event tab to be able to register for more events. Networking in clubs, for sure. Gonna move on now. And you can scan that QR code to sign up for upcoming events throughout the entire semester. We are having a All About York session this Thursday, as well as an in-person campus tour. So if you're ever on campus, please feel free to join us and sign up for our events. Thank you.
All right, so this concludes our virtual info session today. A heartfelt thank you to our guest speaker, Karen, for such an insightful and informative presentation on York's financial services. We truly appreciate the valuable knowledge you've shared with us today. And to all of our attendees, thank you for your time and active participation. We hope this session has provided you greater clarity and confidence in managing your finances as a student at York University. If you have any follow-up questions or need further support, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. You can contact us at newstudent@yorku.ca, and the email was linked in the chat. It would be linked just now again. And we look forward to seeing you at future events. Take care and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. You guys did a great job with the questions.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us again.
Have a great day, everyone.
You too. Bye.
Take
Bye.
care.